Hi, this is Katrina Sargent, owner and creator of Devil Doll Custom Creations. Today we're going to be doing a realistic geode pin tutorial. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you haven't already watched my basic pin tutorials for Epoxy or CrystaLac users, please go and watch them. They'll be linked in the description as well as everything in this video. So first, you're going to want to start out with a prepped and painted white Papermate pin or whatever pin you're using. I use chopsticks with a little silicone straw adapter on them. That's just something I love. You can use a pencil, you can use whatever you would like. So first you're going to want to take a pencil to kind of map out where you're going to want your geode spots and how each color is going to look with each other. So I usually do one from the bottom and then one from the top. Since these are pins and not a tumbler, they're going to be really small and you can't go too large because then you're going to overlap itself or the other geode spot. I also don't try to do the exact same shape on each layer of the geode. You kind of want it to look different on each one. So you don't have to be extremely perfect on this. You don't want all of your lines extremely straight. You don't want all your lines to be the same. You want it to look like a realistic geode. So nothing in nature is 100% perfect. Once you have your spots mapped out, I use Arteza pins. You can use whatever you would like. This is just to add a base color so you only have to do one coat of glitter versus multiple on a white base. Here is my first glitter for my first spot. So I'm going to get coordinating colors to match my glitters. I will link everything in the description with each color I've used and which glitter. You got to make sure you shake your pins really well. I get a piece of paper and kind of dab it because if you have too much paint on your tip of your pin, it can run, it can just be too much for this little tiny spot. And then you're just going to base those spots coordinating with your colors. I tend to do my chunkiest glitter in the very middle spot, kind of like the crystals on pins. They're not super big chunky. On tumblers I do slightly bigger, but you want to kind of avoid super big chunky on these pins because you're going to be doing more coats. You want to keep them fairly thin as much as possible. So just follow those pencil lines on each color coordinating to your glitter choices. I usually go back and forth between a dark and a light or between the two color choices I have. So this first bottom geode spot, I'm going between purple and teal. The middle color that's going to go into that bright purple paint we just did is a mix between purple and teal. I got it from my last subscription box from Peachy Olive Glitters, and I was so excited to use it that I had to create a geode spot with this. It's so pretty. You're going to notice I tend to skip layers. This is just giving it time to dry so you don't drag your paint into the other color or your glitter when it's glittering time. I definitely do this when I'm glittering. I will skip the next layer, do the one between it, and then once those are dry, I come back in and fill those in. I'm going to do the exact same thing for that top geode spot with my teal and my blues. You're going to want to let the paints dry fully before you move on to glittering. I have this really thin paintbrush that I use. Sorry about the papers. They're from my kids' schools. You can use whatever you want, paper plates or anything under your pen to catch your glitters. I usually keep a big stack just so I can kind of work through them fast and I'm not having to constantly change them out. I also use CrystaLac glitter glue. If you're an epoxy user, you can still use this. It has nothing to do with epoxy versus CrystaLac. It's just their glitter glue. You can use Mod Podge if you like. And I put it in a small medicine container just so it's easy. I'm not contaminating anything if I get glitter on my paintbrush. So I usually start at the middle section, middle color. Just slather on some glue and then you're going to glitter just that spot. You're gonna want to kind of pat down your chunky glitters or really all of your glitters so they lay flatter. If you notice that some glue is sticking up after that or you can see spots, just fill it in, pat it again while your glitter glue is still wet. Don't wait until it dries to do this. Between your glitters, you're going to want to use a dried paintbrush and kind of just brush off any extra glitter that kind of stuck to your pen in different areas. If you don't let your paint dry fully, it sometimes can stick to paint colors. So like I said, I skip the next one. So I skip the mint green and go on to my lightest color, purple. Do the exact same thing, paint along your coordinating base colors. So I let those two dry and then I move on to the next geode spot. I do the exact same thing. I do my chunkiest in the middle, skip the blue, and then do my dark color. So I let those spots dry fully before I fill in the middle colors. If you don't let them dry, when you add the next color, sometimes it can fall into those spots and stay with the glitter. So it's just better to let them dry and then move on. Sometimes if your brush is not getting them off, you can get your craft knife to kind of scratch it off. If it's not coming off with the paintbrush, just be careful not to scratch off your paint colors or into the other glitter part. And then you're gonna let this dry fully for about an hour. So all I did was clean up anything that's fallen where the white still is. I took a brush to and kind of brushed off my glitters to make sure there's none on any of the spots that I didn't like. One of my favorite opals is this Princess Bride from Feather Bear Bling. It kind of has a slightly more pink undertone to it. It's gorgeous. So I take my paintbrush and going around the edges of my geode spot. I try to do all one side at one time. This is just so my glitter glue does not dry too fast before I can glitter it. Once you're happy with it, let it fully dry, and then you're going to want to seal this really good with a clear spray paint, at least 3 coats so no glitter shifts, and then epoxy or Brite tone like normal until it's mostly smooth. After that, you're going to want to sand it. If you have done Brite tone and you feel the glitter still, don't sand yet. Do another coat until you don't feel the glitter. Same with epoxy. If you sand it when you feel glitter, you can take the color off your glitter. This is just me taking a craft knife and trimming up the bottom and running it inside the top and the bottom just to make sure I didn't get any epoxy or Brite tone inside that. This is going to help you in the long run when you're trying to put your pins back together. I go through all of this on my basic pin tutorial in depth. These are my favorite Craft Smart paint pens. I'm doing black and gold. They are medium tip, so they are kind of fat for these little pins, but I found the fine tip was dripping more than these larger pin tips. So then you just take it and run it along that edge on whatever color you would like. You don't have to go back and forth like I do. You can do all of them black. You can do all of them silver. And then here I'm just going back through and trying to find where those little extra areas look the best. You don't have to add that. I just tend to find that it kind of adds to the geode look a little more than straight lines. And then let your paint pins dry fully. Once they are dry, you do not have to do this. This is extra. This is gold leaf and tack it. Don't mix your tack it. This is straight out of the bottle. Tack it. Take that paintbrush again and just kind of dab tiny little sections here and there just to add a little extra. Like I said, you don't have to do this, but anytime I can put gold leaf on things, I'm going to. You're gonna want to let your tack it dry fully before you move on to adding your gold leaf. The way you can tell is it kind of goes from a white milky to fully clear. Once it's dry, it's sticky, I kind of just take a piece of gold leaf and run my finger along those sections. It will stay where it is, where the glue is sticky, and it won't stick where there's no glue. And then I kind of tap down and pat it, make sure all of it's stuck to the glue, and then I run my finger along to kind of break up those harsh edges sometimes it forms. This kind of gives it a little bit more natural look. brush off any extra gold leaf that might have fallen on your pen before moving on to sealing it. I use Quick Coat from CCDIY. You can use the clear spray paint if you want. Sometimes if you don't do this, your paint pens will run, or your gold leaf can expel the epoxy or Brite tone. This is just helping seal everything before you move on to the next step. You need to make sure this is dry fully about 45 minutes before you epoxy, and then epoxy or Brite tone like normal until it's glass smooth. If you have any questions, write them in the comments. I will answer back. Please like, share, subscribe. It means the world to me. And thank you everyone for your continued support.